Okie dokie, ladies. It looks like our live. We're back on topic, back on course. All right, everybody. I want to thank you for joining us again. Thank you for tuning back into Truth 101, where we are doing the reaction to our domestic violence awareness panel that we have been talking about over the last couple of months. I have my lovely co-host with me, Miss Megan Johansson, soon to be Mrs. Ebony Smith, Devin, and then Janet. So go ahead, ladies. We're gonna just jump right into the reaction. We've been getting a lot of different reactions from the last couple of podcasts that we have been doing, spreading awareness, and we just want to share that with you all. And today we're gonna focus on talking about the healing process, how we have overcome going through domestic. So I'll let whichever one of you ladies want to take off with some of the reactions that you have.
I'll
Go
dive.
ahead.
I'll dive in. I'll dive in.
Look like you was ready.
Um, I'll dive in. So reaction. So I had to regroup. I had to regroup. I was lost. I was all over the place. I was broken, and I didn't realize it honestly until months after I even left the situation. I was like, you know what, something's not right. You know what I mean? And it took for me to kind of step back, analyze, you know, what I went through and how it changed me and who I was before. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, okay, what do I need to do to fix Janet? Because I knew that it was there was something in me that was attracting, or allowing, right? These situations or circumstances in my life. So for me, the reaction was kind of like, okay, let me get out of the situation. You thank God I did. And then now what do I have to do? What do I have to do to pick up my pieces so that I could be whole again going forward, right? So that I can learn not to make the same mistakes, or to, be able to see these red flags, and not ignore them. Um, so for me, it was a lot of self reflection, major, and I'm still working on that right now to this day. Still, every day it's a learning process. It's knowing what I'm willing to tolerate, what I'm worthy of, you know, um, reminding myself every day, reminding myself that I am worth it, that I am better, kind of like we've spoken before, Megan and everyone else in the group, like, those affirmations, just those friendly reminders all the way around the house, and it's crazy how much that, a domestic relationship or a domestic situation can really take from you, you know. So for me, reaction was just regrouping and just picking up everything that broke, everything I lost, picking it back up, gathering it, and trying to figure my pieces out, put the puzzle back together.
Mhm. Yeah, I can agree to that too. Um, from a lifestyle of living in DV situations, you don't really recognize that you're in that situation until you're on the other side of it. You know, we usually don't even recognize that we're being verbally, physically. Well, physically is more. You know, we would get that first, then the mental, the emotional, financial, right? So it wasn't until like pretty much like the end of the relationship, the last relationship, because I had been going through it for so long, that I started to start realizing like pieces of me were missing. Like I didn't have confidence in myself. I didn't have any self worth. I didn't have any belief in myself. I just felt weak. I felt like a piece of a person. I didn't feel like a whole person because of all of these years of this abuse. I had been picked apart. And so I think a big thing about the reaction, like coming out of these situations, is first recognizing that you are a person. You deserve better. You have to believe that, though. You know, you talk about affirming things, like we can say things all day long, but do you believe it? And sometimes you have to step outside yourself to take a good look at yourself and see all the things that you have overcome and see the people that you have dependent on you. Because sometimes we feel worthless and we're like, oh, well, I just feel this way and this is just who I am because of everything that you've been through. But sometimes you have to look outside and say, okay, I am valuable. I am worthy. I am important. I have overcome some things, even though that you've been beat down so bad. And that was what it was for me. Like after the suicide attempt, still being alive. Like, how pitiful is that? You know what I'm saying? Only because I couldn't die, I felt like I had some type of value. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes we have to really like dig and search because we have been depleted,
Mhm.
depleted of
Yes.
everything
Yep.
to where we don't feel that we're anything. But just the mere fact that you are here today and that you have breath in your body, you are worthy, you are valuable. And once you realize that, then you can start to piece your life back together. And I think that's what is one of the main things. When I talk to people like that watched us talking about this before, one of the ladies messaged me and she said, she said, I didn't even realize that I was going through this because it was so normal for me. It was just, and she just was really grateful for all of us getting on and sharing our story. And so it's like, it's not normal. I don't know how to put it, but it's just not normal. And it's sad that we even get to a place that we feel like we deserve this. You deserve respect. You're delicate. You deserve to be treated as such. You shouldn't have somebody pushing you around, being mean to you, calling you bad names, calling you B words and stuff like that. That's not cute, right? It's what the world has made people accustomed to, but it's not normal and it's not okay. So I just think the first thing we need to do is just realize that we have value. If we had like a step one, just step one is you are valuable.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right.
Amen.
Um, so I guess I'll go next. For me, um, I'll start with the reaction piece from people. We did the first one, and I look back at the first one and um, how many people just from the first one versus how many we've done it this far, what, three?
Yeah.
So far. So couple people here and there in my inbox, like, wow, it went from wow, I didn't know you went through all of that. I can't watch that all the way through because you went through that, to numbers increasing of people reaching out saying, I need help. I'm in this predicament. I didn't realize I was in this predicament. I didn't realize that this is what I was going through. You guys have touched on things that you wouldn't even think that was abuse. Meetings, people wanting to meet up, people wanting to take on life coaching services with me. Um, just the growth each time we do reach out and speak out about it in people that actually, though it may, if you're not looking on social media at that given moment, doesn't mean they won't go back and watch, doesn't mean they won't go back and a couple of days later let you know, hey, I checked you out, hey, I saw this, and you've helped me see where I'm at, so now what? So I've gotten a lot of now what do I do feedback type of questions. Just a lot of people out here needing help, which I'm ready to for us to give it to them best we can, because again, awareness. If you don't know what abuse is, you will just chop it up to thinking it's, again, like you said, somebody putting their hands on you. Here's the question I was going to ask when I said I need to save that. I feel like abuse is anything that is unacceptable to you in your life that's abusing you. I feel you should be able to call it abuse, walk away from it, treat it as such. If you're feeling abused, if a person, stop discrediting what abuse is. If a person says to you on a constant basis that they're going to, I don't know, that let's say they constantly criticizing you or talking about how you dress or whatever, and you're in a relationship with them, they're demeaning you. That's abuse.
Mhm.
It's abuse. If you're with somebody and they threaten to hit you, they may not ever hit you. Well, he's threatened it, but he ain't never put his hands on me.
Yes.
That's abuse.
Yes.
Anything that you find unacceptable to you by way of standards that's important in regards to how you want to be treated, is abuse, because your mind, anything that somebody does to you, if it messes with your anxiety, if it messes with your how your functionability, the way you handle your responsibilities, take care of day-to-day life, it is abuse. Stop labeling abuse as being one thing to try to ignore the fact that you're being abused. And
Right.
that's what I've been telling people, because quite honestly, I didn't realize that until probably I went through my marriage and came out of it. And, I'm just now reaching a place, having gotten to this point, because in the first podcast, I was still ailing. I could see it. I was still ailing about my son, about all of that. I could feel the pain level that I was still holding in, and I didn't realize that I was holding it in so tough. But um you got to let go of you being the issue. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes we're holding on like we're the issue. We're the reason that these things happened. And you have to actually analyze the situation for what it is. And I think that that's something that I was able to do coming out of it. And it took me 4 or 5 years to do so, to actually start to realize that I was not, though I do have a role and a responsibility in what I allow, I was not the proprietor of the situation and circumstances that occurred and the things that happened to me. But what I want people to know in this piece is anything that is not love to you, or doesn't feel like love, make you feel loved, and it makes you ill, ailing, all that, you are being abused. And I think we need to stop ignoring the fact that it's abuse. Adultery, abuse. Infidelity, abuse. It's all abuse.
Yep.
Bottom line, narcissism, abuse. You're being abused. That's something that I'm actually starting to piece together and come to grips with, understanding that people are abusive. Stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. Your parents, your siblings, whoever. People are abusive. That word is one that we like to chop up and screw it any kind of way we want to. We need to stop doing that. We need to recognize it and react to it as such. So that's it.
I just want to like follow up on what she said about it doesn't matter who they are. I couldn't share this at our last podcast. I was in the process of leaving a job because my coworker was extremely abusive. She was so silent treatment. It was really, really tough to be around, and I had talked to the higher ups, but nothing was being done. And then they were like, "Well, just hold on till January. Just hold on till January." Well, she ended up swearing at me one day because I asked her a simple question if she had seen something. I work with little children, so not only was she swearing at me, but she was, being, these children are vulnerable. And I was like, no, there's like so many jobs out there right now. This is not worth it. I was literally going home, being like sick at night, being sick before I went to work. It just was not a good environment. At the same time, still trying to heal from the abuse and the relationships that I've been in the past. And it was just like, it doesn't matter who it is. It can be just really anyone, and just being aware of, like you guys have said, you're worthy of much more than that, So
I will say, to piggyback off of that, just when you grow up and you don't even know what abuse is, right? So you just get used to the patterns of people's negative behavior, which then in turn goes into your adulthood, goes into your friendships and your romantic relationships. And then you one day look up and you're like, I just don't feel good as a person. Like, who am I? And who are these people that I'm calling my loved ones? Like, do they really love me? Like, what is your definition of love? Maybe it's different than what I would say love is. So, I mean, just speaking about so many different versions of abuse, it's ever changing, right? Because I mean, any bad behavior from an individual that makes you feel bad to your core is abusive, right? Like, so I mean, we are, I myself know that I'm guilty of that. So I've been abusive to people And I would never want someone to intentionally feel bad the way I've felt bad, you know, by being abused. So it's just kind of eye-opening to realize how that pattern can transcend over the years of what you've seen. Like, I grew up in an, you know, household where, you know, being yelled at and screaming and all of this was the normal. So, you know, I took that into my adulthood, and that was part of my parenting skills, was yelling. Like, you know, how do you get away from that? So then going into abusive relationships, it just was like normal. Like, okay, this is my dysfunctional household, you know, my family, right? So yeah, negative pattern that we need to try to stop when we realize it, so then we don't continue it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, in how you just said that, would you say that in the going through stages of it all, that you didn't see it? Because you said that very clearly, because that's just how I feel. But as you've come out of it and you can look back in, it's like you're looking in a little window, and you can say how you just said that, just how you said that, stated that reaction there, that's your reaction to the pain that you endured. It was so clear and so like focused. In that situation, you wouldn't have had those thoughts. It wouldn't have been that clear about, yeah, you knew you grew up in that household, but you wouldn't have probably been able to display it how you just displayed it now. Like, it's a trip when we go through what we go through and then come out of it, and how we can explain and express how we feel about it now versus how we could explain and express it then. Because I would imagine you probably couldn't at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
So
because you don't realize that you're in it, right?
yeah, you don't see it.
You
That's
think
okay. I just want to make sure that's, because that's kind
I'm
of how
sticking
I
by my
feel.
man, right? That's how,
Yeah,
that's
and I'm
the
not thinking
narrative.
about that. Yeah, I'm not thinking about the rest of that, because yeah, it's whatever. But then after you're out of it, like again, you're looking in that window. So yeah, it's kind of funny how the similarities, when you think of reaction, you think of, there's a lot of similarities when people actually can go back and look back. Because exactly what you said is kind of how I feel about my situation as well.
Yeah. I mean, even when I just was preparing for the podcast and I'm like trying to think about everything I've been through, and it's like, you don't realize what you're going through until it's done. And you're like, wait a second. Like,
Yeah.
I just went through this for how many years and why? Like, you know, I went to college, I've raised children, I've had, you know, amazing corporate jobs, and, you know, I'm good to people, and you don't realize that you're like hurting yourself because you don't even
Right.
realize that you're loving someone who's draining you. And it's like, I can smile about it now and you know, laugh and say that it's easier said than done, right? You know, walk away. But when you're in the thick of it, it's not so easy to walk away. This is your normal. This is your livelihood, that you can't just say, I'm going to leave today. Oh, I found
Right.
out I'm abused, I'm leaving in 30 minutes. It's not that easy. So I mean,
Right.
anytime we say to leave to people, I mean, we're saying it for your best interest, but everybody knows when they had their breaking point, and you do know that there are people who will help you. So when you are ready for that, you know, we're here to help out as much as possible. So I mean,
Well,
that's why we're here to spread this.
I just thought of one thing that a friend had told me. I had kind of known I needed to leave my abusive marriage for quite a while. And I didn't leave until something that my oldest daughter had said is what pushed me to leave. But I had a friend that told me for a long time, when you know, you know. And, you know, you'll just know. She just kept just saying that to me constantly. And I didn't really understand that. But I literally just like what you were saying, it just kind of clicked. I was like, oh yeah, she used to say that to me all the time. And I think, you know, that's the thing. You like, you know, so many people you try and, you know, say, oh, make a pro and cons list. And, you know, I think when people sometimes sit down and do it, but they have to be ready. They have to. I think, you know, you're in the pre-contemplation stage for a really long time, and then the kind of the contemplation stage, and then, you know, before you actually go.
and what I was gonna say, we all know that because we've all been there. It is harder to leave, but another thing too about the whole aspect of it is everybody doesn't want to leave. And not only does everybody not want to leave, but everybody doesn't even recognize. Like, looking now that I'm on this side of it, right? I could look back, like Devin was saying, I have been abusive. You know what I mean? Because these are
Yeah.
things I have learned. These are learned behaviors. This isn't because I'm a malicious person or because I'm a bad person, but this is my norm. So this is what I do, you know? So I also think about those people too, that's in that situation, that's dealing with those type of people, the us's in the situation, right? Where they haven't came from where we came from and been through what we've been through, but then they have us, survivors, or people that have lived in these type of environments growing up, that we're now being abusive, right? And we don't want them to leave us, right? I was just
Right.
like, we have to look at it too. Well, I see it now from this way, but before I couldn't have seen it this way. But maybe it's a matter of setting those boundaries and letting it be known, like, hey, this makes me feel this way when you do this, and I feel bad when you do this. And then, because the first thing what we say when we talk about abuse, hey, if somebody is abusing you, you leave, you get out of there. But it's another level to it though, right? Because what if they
Yes.
don't leave? What if they really love this person, right? So another piece of advice that I would just like to throw out there is start making these things known. Like, hey, this isn't normal. You yelling at me every time stuff don't go your way. You talking bad about me. It makes me feel this way. You know, start setting boundaries for people. And as people start crossing boundaries now that they know, now you can truly say, this is abuse. I'm being abused, and they're doing it intentionally, and it's malicious. And now I'm going to start pre-contemplating how I'm going to get the heck away from this food, because now you're doing too much. You know what I mean? But it's like, when I think about it, because I think about me and like my first abusive relationship. It was abusive, and by the end of it, I hated him. But when I think about it now as a full grown adult, he didn't know no better. He did what he saw, and I did what I saw. You know what I mean? Even though I was on the end of being hurt, still at the end of the day, people, like Devin was saying, people love the way that they know love to be. And unfortunately, some people know love to be abusive because that's what they've seen their whole life. So, you know, it's a lot of elements when it comes to this. You should never stay in a situation where you're not safe. You should never stay in a situation where it messes with your anxiety or PTSD, or it creates a fear in you to where you feel like you're better off dead. But I also think it's a place of awareness where you become aware that this is bothering me and it makes me feel this way, and you give a person an opportunity to fix it. And if they blatantly show you that this is who I am, you're either going to accept it or you're going to accept it, because that's how my abusers were. Like, it wasn't nothing else. You're going to either accept this or you're going to accept this, right? But if it's, you know, there's ways to fix this on both ends, on the abuser and the person that's being abused too, right? Because we just don't want to assume that everybody means harm, because they don't. Sometimes it's just learned behavior. And so I just wanted to say that, because I know some people listening are in love with the person that they may be sitting right next to. You know what I mean? And they probably can see something in them that we can't, right? Because we've been fed up to the head up, and we ain't got no room for none of that. But they probably see a loving and caring person, but they do this and but they do that, you know? And that's human nature. But it's like, let them know, okay, when you do this and when you do that, it bothers me. You know what I'm saying? It makes me feel like we're gonna fight or something. I would not like that you do that. And then if they don't respect your boundaries, now you know for sure you're dealing with somebody who's an abuser, and you gotta, you know, you gotta make your way out.
So I feel like and it's just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Veronica. So I feel another big, and this has been something that I've struggled with, and I'm honestly still struggling with. So I just put this out there because I know that it's major. Like you said, learn behavior, project of your environment. This is the type of love that they know how to give. With that said, it's not personal. And I kid you not, I have that posted right on a sticky note outside of my bathroom door. Every day I walk in and out my bathroom, I remind myself that it is not personal, because whatever way this person was to me, 9 times out of 10, he was the same way with the person prior to me. And 9 times out of 10, he gonna be the same way with the person after me.
Yeah.
So it's not personal. And I feel like when you look at it from that perspective, you're not as angry. And that's what I wanted to kind of piggyback off of, you know, just the whole the hurt and the hate, like that only for me anyways, and I'm pretty sure that goes for a lot of women, it hinders you from being able to truly heal.
Yes.
You know, I kid you not, like I had a conversation just recently, and Ebony, you know, I had a conversation just recently with my son's father, and I says to him, you know, I'm like, I hate you. I hate you. I've never hated anybody the way that I hate you. I mean, that's what I got for you, you know. And he said one thing to me that made more sense than anything he's ever said to me. And he says, how are you godlike, right? And you're telling me that you hate me. And I told him, I said, you know what? You are absolutely right. You make so much sense. And that is something that I'm praying for, right? Because I know that I should not hate you. And I know that it was not personal. And I know that I'm hindering myself from healing and being able to move forward because I hold on to this hate, you know. So with the healing process, you know, just another part in my reaction has been to understand that it's not personal. It's not personal. And if it's not personal, there's no reason to be upset. When it rains, if you get wet, it wasn't personal.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, you know, it rained. I mean, I don't know. You didn't have your umbrella. You know, you
Right.
weren't equipped for it, you know? And that's just that.
Right.
And I say that and I say that because it's so hard. It's so hard. It is so hard to realize, understand that, and really run with it. But that is one thing that I know is major when you're going through your healing process. And until you get past that healing process, you're not gonna be not even whole for your children, for
No,
yourself,
no. And
you know?
yep, so to go along with what you said, because it's funny how it's all coinciding together. When I had children involved, that a child that wasn't mine, and my daughter, my stepson, my daughter, they're both 6 months apart. He'll be 16 on Friday. Haven't seen him since he was 10. Okay. When my anger with my ex-husband lied in the aspect of, and this was even in my first podcast, because when we can go back, we can listen to the passion and you can
Yeah.
see the tears in my face. And I'm
Hmm.
smiling right now and I'm calm and I'm rational and I'm not irate about it
Yeah.
because again, my pain with him came from how are you going to do this to this family, these kids, to me? How are you going to be such a horrible human being, a horrible individual to me, to put me in the predicament to where this we can't be anymore, and if these kids need to have to separate and never see each other again, and we're not you didn't consider the fact that you had a family, being the type of person that you are, you didn't consider that. And I had to sit down and I actually had to think. I wrote a book. People know that. I didn't release the book because I had to, we were talking about it yesterday. I had to really look at myself in this book and say, you know what? You had an active role because you knew what it was. Because
Right.
I mean, again, like Veronica said, sometimes you love a person, you can love them and be madly in love with them, and you giving chances, hey, you're hurting me, but, I had an active role in a lot of that. But where I'm at now with it versus where I was, even when did we do that first podcast? October, even?
Yeah.
It's just there's so much growth there. Like I can speak about my son, I can speak about his father, my ex-husband, in a sense to say, I'm not in that same painful place anymore. And I understand that the forgiveness that's needed here is I need to release that hatred
Mhm.
and anger that I have for you for not being able to be what I needed you to be
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
for myself, for me to be able to move forward in my life, for me to be able to be functionally happy. I need to be able to do that. And that has been I've been divorced 6 years, 7 years. That has been the hardest piece of all of it is how
Mhm.
you gonna do them kids like that?
Yeah.
How you gonna do these kids like that? And
Yeah.
once, like, I had to just understand that, it's anger that was consuming me, not so much of the fact of what he
Mhm.
did, but just the anger and hatred.
Yeah.
You are not going to have
Yeah.
that kind of power over me.
That's
And
Mhm.
right.
so, again, reaction, letting go of that
Yes.
that person's power over you is like
Mhm.
liberating. You don't have that power over me anymore to where you're affecting how I function on a day-to-day basis. You
Yeah.
just don't. And and I get people, people mess up. They make mistakes. My thing with that is that and I do agree with you can be in love with the person and they do deserve a chance to better themselves. Maybe because I just ain't got it in me. I
She
don't know.
laughed.
I ain't got it in me. But here's the thing. Change behavior has to actually be changed behavior. You can't keep talking out your mouth to me, telling me what you gonna do, because that's what my ex-husband used to do all the time is I'm never gonna do this to you. On my wedding night, he cried real tears. I'll never hurt you again, put my hands on you again. I'm sorry that I hurt you, and put his hands on me 6 days later. Listen,
Wow.
you cannot do that to me.
Right.
Like you just can't. And that's just because of the trauma. I mean, everybody's traumatic experiences are different, but I can't. I will give you the benefit of the doubt, but only so far.
Yeah.
I'm
And
with
that's
you,
it.
Ebony. I'm
That's
with
it.
you on that.
Because
So that
we
that
have
love.
we have
Mm-mm.
short lifespan. Life is not long, okay? Life is
Mhm.
not long. And if I'd have sat here and continue letting this man condemn me and in my life and what I was going through, I would have missed the pieces of my life that I'm in now, where
Yes.
I'm happy, where I'm healthy, where I'm treated well, where I'm not allowing myself to be all because I was trying to give grace over here. I was giving grace like crazy. And, it's there.
Amen.
We do that. We do need to do that. And I don't think not any one of us on this panel has not given in any of our situations that grace to those other people to make the changes and whatnot. But
Right.
we gotta actually know when to cut it off and when to cut the
Amen.
shit and move forward. And
Amen.
that's the bottom line. So
Yep.
I feel like I'm able to do that with my ex-husband now, and I really have very limited contact with him. And I was just thinking of about probably 6 to 8 months ago. I was in my car and he happened to call me. He doesn't call me very much or text me very much. He's one of those. He kind of goes for the kids. Our kids are older now, so it's not a big deal as much as it was when he was young, when they were younger. But he had called me and he was civilly talking, and then all of a sudden it just clicked over to that, 0 to 60. He's very much well known for that. And I just said to him, I said, okay, our children are in the car. So goodbye. You no longer, I did say, you no longer have control over me. Goodbye. And I hit the button on the car, because speakerphone in the car, obviously hands free. And, like that just like really felt really good to be able to like just hang up on him, and, but I think one of the things that I've really realized is there is really no specific timeline for recovery. Everybody's journey is different, and some people recover in 1 or 2 or 3 months, and other people takes a couple years. Some people it takes 20 years. Other people it takes a lifetime really to recover. And some relationships are more severe than others from what kinds of abuse people are recovering for, and sometimes there unfortunately there is long lasting effects, the PTSD, whatever. Sometimes you don't always know what triggers you, so, and I guess realizing that that's okay, that I've had people say, oh, just get over it, just get over it. And it's not like something that you can just get over.
Mm-mm. It's at your own pace. And
Absolutely.
then as far as like dealing with, because I have a young son. My son will be 3. So, and he's got autism. So we gotta come to a meeting of the minds, me and his father, which still working on that. I don't know if it'll ever happen. But one thing that I did learn in the past, and I say this to the women who are trying to leave in situations that they do have children, and their children may be younger. 60 seconds. 60 seconds. I kid you not. I put a timer on my phone for 60 seconds. Whatever we have to talk about, we can talk about in 60 seconds because we don't, anything outside of that, there's no need. You're going to ask me how I've been doing. We don't need the small talk. Listen, he has a doctor's appointment on this day. I need you to drop him off. You could pick him up at such and such time. Follow up with me when you're done. That's it. Because when you allow, like you said, Megan, it took for you, and that was major, but not everybody has that willpower to just hang up.
Oh, I didn't.
You know
used
what I
to.
mean?
I didn't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So for me, it was just, it was like clockwork, 60 seconds. That's it. That's all I got for you. Okay. And I would never just hang up. It'd just be, it goes off, timer's ringing. Hey, but my line is clicking, so I'm gonna call you back. And that was it. And that was it because it limited his access, and as we know, men that are abusive and that are narcissists, they feed off even that 60 seconds. You know what I'm saying? But it's unfortunate when you have to carry that relationship with this person because you have a child, so I'm very, very limited to any kind of, literally. Sometimes I just got a text just now. Yeah, I didn't need to know what type of shoes you bought my son. I'm gonna see him when you get here. There's so many things that I just don't respond to anymore. And it's just, oh, okay. They're cute, but again, that's that narcissist trying to wheel you back in. So just that part, would help on the recovery, and yeah, it's
And
been major
healing.
for me.
People
Yes.
people need to understand that healing is not a cut and dry thing.
Mm.
You don't heal just because, somebody said to me once, when I was writing my book and I was sharing on social media little bits and pieces of my book, a family member commented under one of my pictures or one of the book excerpts, and they were like, I'm really sick of seeing things about my uncle. And I kindly said, here's the thing. Or no, she said, you need to heal. And I'm like, another person can't tell you what to heal from when
Right.
they weren't living and going through what you're going through. Number one, we are always, number two, we're always going to be healing from life's things that happen to us, because there's always something that's going to trigger something similar. There's, even if you just having a conversation, having conversations with my clients sometimes trigger things for me. It's how you handle yourself and your composure in that healing process that shows growth in your healing, but you're not 100% healed. Nobody can tell you, oh, you're healed. Oh, you're healed. So when I see all these different people on there writing, in social media or just in general, oh, I'm healed through this and I'm healed through, healing is a process. You're not
Mm.
you're not expected to heal and be healed when you go through trauma or traumatic experiences. It's not something that's even logically done. We're human beings. We're not robots.
Right.
So it is okay to feel like at times you still, may mentally have a moment where you think about those things, or, you're human, but it's
Right.
how you deal with those things and what is your reaction to those things? Where have you grown in the process to get to the reaction that you have now versus the reaction that you had then? How you would have reacted 2 years ago about a situation, or even in my situation back in October, versus how I'm reacting today? It's completely different.
Yes. Yes.
you
I
know
wanted to say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Evan.
Okay, so I just wanted to chime in on that piece about when people talk about healing and healed, right? Especially when you start dating after you've been through traumatic situations, right? So typically you move on to a relationship that's not abusive, right? But you're
Right.
bringing that baggage with you, you're bringing that hurt
Yep.
with you, you're bringing that trauma with you. And a lot of individuals will try to say, you should have came healed, you should have
That's true.
came recovered, you should be done with that by now. And it's like, how do you get over things that altered you mentally, physically, emotionally, like that? Everybody doesn't get over things like that. So to
Right.
say come healed, come unbroken is kind of like, really? I don't know, it's funny to me when I hear people say that, because it's like,
Yeah.
how can you tell someone that? How can you tell someone that they're supposed to be this amazing person and they've been destroyed? And now you're like rebuilding your own, footsteps to be a person again, right? So
Right.
because I've been through something traumatic, that means I don't deserve to be loved, like, I don't know. It's just, it's funny, but it's not funny at the same time, because it's sad. Because why don't people understand that? Yes, I've been through something. No, I'm not wanting to go back to that. But yes, I may relive situations because that was my life at one point, right?
Right.
No, I'm not trying to bring the baggage. Nobody wants to bring baggage to someone. Like,
Right.
nobody is
Girl, the right
intentionally.
man, the right man gonna be like, baby, go and get the luggage. Come on, let's unpack. Literally.
Okay.
The right man is gonna love you through your healing and is
Right.
going to be understanding and nurturing to your soul.
Right. But and that's just the thing too, because I've heard that before. Come healed. And it's like, okay, you guess what? I can respect somebody saying that to me, because that just let me know that you're not the one for me, right?
Mm,
Because they got their stuff too. You know what I'm saying? And
That's
just
what I, yeah,
people,
yeah.
yeah, they got their stuff too, but because people are so used to stuffing their stuff or being
Mhm.
sensitized, or even they feel like their stuff is our stuff, so it doesn't look like that. You know what I mean? But it's like you need some healing too. If you could tell
mm,
somebody that they need to come heal, there's clearly something wrong with you, right?
right.
But
Yep.
look at it like that. And so I think that, if you ever heard somebody say that to you, understand they don't value you. They don't value how you feel. They don't care about what you're dealing with emotionally. And like I really appreciate what y'all saying, like making the difference between healing versus heal. Because so many people put their life on hold seeking for this magical healing that's not gonna happen in a matter of
Mm,
time,
mm,
right? People say, oh no, I'm just doing this right now, I'm trying to heal. But you could be living this for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, because like you all said, there's never a place that you come to where there's complete healing. I think that everything that we go through in life takes a little piece out of us.
mm.
But as
Yes.
we grow and as we heal, we get a little piece of something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
that same piece that was lost, right? Because I think
Mm-hmm.
about before it all started, I was naive. I could never be naive again. And I
Mm,
loved being naive because I had no clue. It was a
Right.
beautiful place to be. I could love without any restrictions. I didn't look at people like they were up to something. It was so pure, right?
Yeah.
I could
Yep.
never, ever, ever have that again. Even if I say it doesn't matter who this person is, I trust God. I'm going to look to God and this and that, right? Still in the back of my mind, you will never be able to get as close to me as the first person did. Point blank, period.
Correct.
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Even in our healing, I may come to you and I may be healed to a certain extent. But then when I start dealing with you and you're going to do things to trigger me that I'm
Yep.
not even going to realize was a trigger for me, because you've never abused me, you've never hurt me, but you just did something that made me feel some type of way, you know? So what, you gonna leave me because now all of a sudden my PTSD start acting up, like,
Right.
so it's good things to be mindful of, because I think we're entitled to that. And like I said, anybody who has been through something, it may not even been domestic violence. If you've been molested, if you grew up without a parent, if anything, you're going to have some long-term effects from the things that you have endured in your life. Point blank period. So, if a person can't help you through it, like Janet said, pull out your bags and let's start unpacking them piece by piece, then I don't think they should be a part of your life. That's a part of your healing, right? You take your power back by using your voice, by setting boundaries. And when somebody oversteps them boundaries, you stand on them. No, I've told you how I feel. I told you what I went through, and I'm not going through this again. Since you choose to try to put this,
I think that was a big thing for me in this, getting into this last relationship that I'm now engaged in. I was very open, honest, super Brene Brown, vulnerable from the start. I think a lot of times I tried to, like, you know, keep it inside what happened and stuff like that. Or I had a boyfriend tell me, "Oh, just get over it already. Just get over it." I'm like, and I guess I didn't realize that, you know, you're not being supportive and I should have kicked you out or been done a long time ago right away. But, you know, I couldn't really open up to him, and I was always on eggshells with him. And I didn't realize that, you know, in some ways you're worse than my now ex-husband, because I was still just constantly on eggshells. The last 2 relationships I was in before meeting the guy that I'm dating now, and engaged to now. And so I just wanted to be really open and honest and vulnerable from the start with him. And, you know, he was very supportive from the start. And I know there was times that I talked to Ebony and I was like, wow, you know, like, I was kind of, for a while, I was literally waiting for the shoe to fall for a while. Like,
me too. I know what that feels like. My
this?
husband was very, you know, he would serenade me with, there's a song by Donnell Jones, He Won't Hurt You Again. He would, you know, in the beginning, he was very, still is too, because he knows I go through my moments, would go through my moments about my son. But he was very, like, nurturing in the sense to where I knew I would never have to worry about that aspect of my life being, you know, something that I'd have to worry about, just the little things that he used to do or would do. And I was very open and honest with him from jump about everything that I had experienced. And it's nice to be able to get to a place where you can be open and honest, because sometimes in the situations, abusive situations, we can't even be that. We still can't even be that. It's embarrassing. It's degrading to some people still. So again, a level of healing took place when you were able to do that with your guy, because it, again, we don't always feel like we can do that, because we're like, what you up to? What kind of person you gonna be? I don't know what you know, I don't know, because that, but I didn't have that feeling about my husband for some reason. I knew he was, I mean, I could tell him my truth, but I talked to a couple guys before him and was like, yeah, nah, you'll never learn about me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel comfortable.
I have a good one, ladies.
Oh,
yeah.
And I know you can all resonate. I know you can. Ebony, being able to tell your truth and just speak your mind, and then being called bitter. There's a difference between being bitter and being broken.
Yes.
There's a big difference. And I think people need to realize that, because that was a trigger for me. And then I found myself defending myself. Like, I'm not bitter. Like, if I was bitter, I wouldn't this and I wouldn't that. And you probably wouldn't even be a part of my life. And it's like, you know what? Pump your brakes, Janet. He's not even worthy of the conversation or even the explanation, okay? Because there's a big difference between a woman being bitter and broken.
That's right.
Huge.
speaking of broken, what I was going to say was the broken pieces of you, right? If you break a glass right now and you find every single piece and glue it back together, is that glass going to be exactly the same that it was before it broke?
No, ma'am.
Not at all. And that's how I've always tried to explain, like, when a person gets broken, yeah, they might heal and be healing and recovering and, you know, got back on their feet and everything, but they're never gonna be the same, ever. Like, those triggers, it could be something that you never even thought was a trigger, you know, 20 years later, and you're like, whoa, that just reminded me of my ex. And it's not because you miss your ex.
Right.
Because that's one thing I
Right.
think people misconceive too. Like, I'm not speaking about my past trauma because I
Hmm.
miss this person. That was my life at one point. Like, that was what I thought, was supposed to be my forever. And
Right.
then, something so major happened to me. I'm not speaking about, some little relationship in high school that was nothing. It's something that was major. Like, this person mentally changed me. Like,
Right.
I don't want that again. Like,
That's like
Right.
with this woman in the workplace that I had only worked there about 10 weeks when I put in my notice that I was leaving. But it was just so triggering, that silent treatment. I had dated a guy in 2019 that was an alcoholic, and he was living. I let him live with me, made the mistake of letting him move in really quick. And he would just like go off and not tell me and just not come home. And, that whole silent treatment thing. And then to be working with this woman, and, we were working with children. So we needed to communicate for the sake of the children, the sake of the parents, everything. And to have her not like talk, the triggers of the silent treatment, it was just like, it was super mentally and emotionally draining, just really.
Yeah, that's
and I would say,
that's a big one.
and what I'll say is that's part of, your healing process, right? Is being able to recognize what those triggers are, what your
Yeah, and a lot of people, people in my
boundaries
family
are.
were like, oh, stick it out, stick it out. And I had talked to the owner and the HR and stuff, and but it was like nothing was like happening. And it was like, yeah, I did want to stick it out. I did have some attachment to those children, and I had really great families, but I was like, I can't do this every day. I can't, continue to try and heal myself and work in this kind of environment that was just really toxic to me. And
Which goes back to saying anything that doesn't serve you no more, you have the right to walk away from it. Life is too short. I keep saying that for a reason. Life is too short. We are not here to live in misery. I don't care. Yes, they had issues. The person had mama, daddy issues, whatever. We all have our issues. We all have our problems. Does that mean it's our responsibility to fix that person because of the issues they had coming up or growing up? That was what I thought for so long. Oh, he went through this. I need to give him a chance because no, I'm sorry. I'm not fixing anybody. I'm not Bob the Builder. I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. 7 years ago I would have did it, but I'm just not going to do that. So,
And I'm a firm believer that we all come from something. And I've had to tell my ex many of times, I'm not her. I'm not her. I'm not for you. I'm sorry. I'm not. I was given a different type of love. My understanding of love is totally different than what your understanding of love is. And that doesn't mean that there's not somebody out here, like you said, that is willing to build you up. She may come from what you come from. That might be what she is understanding of. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not that person. I can't mold myself into being somebody that I'm not. I am a loving person. I'm a free loving person. I love everybody. Girl, I love my neighbor and I don't even know her. Okay. I love everybody. I'm telling you, I just love. I love everybody. I talk to everybody. I am a people person. And if I'm not getting that pure love in return, I can't do nothing for you. I just can't. And again, that doesn't mean that you won't find love, because I'm sure that you will. Either A, you figure yourself out and you go through the healing process to get yourself together, or B, you happen to bump heads with somebody that comes from that same toxic environment. It's sad, but it is what it is. And
I
that's
want
just
to
that.
I want to leave people with, cuz I'm sure we're concluding. It looks like we're getting close to that time, but I just want to leave people with in this segment, cuz we talked about doing some other things going forward. So this will conclude this piece of it, but we're going to work on something else. But one thing that I want to leave people with is just to say, you know, give yourself love, love on yourself, start focusing on that peace within yourself,
Mm.
and everything else you will start to see. You'll start to see those triggers and the persons, people that you're dealing with. You'll get to see how people around you, once you actually tap into yourself, you have a very, very broad view of other people and what you will and won't accept. And you can love a person to death, but when you get to the point of where you love yourself and you just you what you won't accept. I just actually posted something like that on Facebook. Like what you when you're over just accepting BS, it's a beautiful feeling because you will not allow anybody to take that from you ever again. And you will start to find healthy relationships and healthy friendships and healthy, you know, healthy things to gravitate towards. But you gotta, it starts from in here.
Mm.
Mhm.
Starts from
And
in
it's
here.
okay. It's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. It does
No.
not make you less than, it doesn't make you a bad person. You didn't love them any less. You none of that, because that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that feedback that they're going to try to make you feel bad about your choices and why you're leaving and why you can't deal with it. And that's fine. To each his own. Like I said earlier, it's never personal. It's not personal. Only you are in control of what is going to happen to you, for you, in your life. Period. And once you start to feel like, you know what, I deserve more. I'm better than this. I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to say yes. I don't have to, is when you really start to gain control. And when you gain control, kind of like, piggybacking off what Ebony said, it's a sense of relief. It's like, wow, I allowed so much only because I was worried about what somebody else thought, even though it put me in a position that I didn't want to be in.
Yeah.
Put you first, period.
I
Yep.
want to ask you ladies this. How many times did you ask yourself in the middle of your abusive relationship, why me?
All the
Why me? Right? Because you think, this shouldn't happen to me. I'm not doing anything to you. I love you. I'm giving everything you ask, and I'm still going through this. It's not you, it's
Mm-mm.
them. So don't
Mm.
blame yourself. Give yourself
Mhm.
grace. Be the good person you are. Remain loving and caring and all the
Amen.
things you need to do. And when you're able to leave, leave, because you will leave with your dignity and your pride, and you know that you gave that person the best, and it just wasn't good enough for them. They don't love me like I need to be loved, and I gotta go.
Peace.
Indeed.
Literally.
Yep. If that's one thing that I could say too is love yourself. All the energy that you put into other people, put that energy into yourself. Don't listen to the lies that no one else will want you. Nobody else is gonna
Mm.
love you. I love you. Nobody's gonna treat you how I treat you. Especially for the mother with children, right? Nobody
Mm.
gonna take care of those kids, and it's all a lie. It's
Mm.
all a lie.
I think it
Some,
It's
makes
all a lie.
it's all
yeah.
some.
A big thing for me was a lot of people said you'll find somebody when you're not looking, and I never believed that. I just continued to settle for that person, thinking that I could change him, and this could work out, and I could change him, and like I stepped back and wasn't in a relationship for like a year. Somebody suggested I try Facebook dating. I kind of thought it was a joke, but there I was, here I am now.
Beautiful.
It's like I wasn't really looking.
I
Amen.
love that.
Like your
Yeah,
destiny is right on the other side of fear. That's what I learned, right?
absolutely.
I was
Yes.
afraid to put,
That's a big one.
but your destiny is right on the other side of fear. What you are,
Hmm.
Yes.
your destiny is right on the other side of it. So
Literally.
encourage somebody to just push through, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up, but we do have a retreat that we're gonna be planning that's coming soon. So please be on the lookout. We'll be posting on all of our pages and making sure that we are inviting people. If you have questions, make sure you inbox any of us. We'll be more than happy to talk with you all. And I know Ebony may have more women empowerment. sessions coming up before then. So we are committed to just helping break the cycle and start the healing. And we're willing to put ourselves out there to help grab women that are still going through or coming out of. So please don't hesitate out.
We're
Please
all here
don't.
to help. Yep.
We are here for you. Open book, open policy, no judgment zone. Okay,
No
because
judgment.
we've all been there.
Yeah.
You
No
did.
judgment.
Well,
All
it's been,
right.
as always, ladies, love talking to you all. We'll be in touch soon.
Yes,
Thank
Sounds
yes.
good.
Y'all take care. Have a
you.
good
Good
night,
night.
ladies.
You too. Bye.